Chapter 150, 7th Year, Legacy, Part 2.
We got lucky with the weather.
Remus commented, gazing up at the clear blue sky.
Would have been a nightmare getting them all outside if it was raining.
He was not going to miss Scottish summers. He and Christopher were alone in the owlery, waiting. It would begin any moment.
"Don't make fun of me, okay?"
Christopher whispered, looking down at the grounds from the high open windows.
"But this is the most exciting thing I've ever done."
Remus smiled at him fondly and gave his hand a quick squeeze.
I bet you this is just the beginning. You're going to do so many exciting things, I know it.
"I don't know. It's going to be quiet with you lot gone."
Chris replied, peering down at the lawn below them.
"I bet they make Regulus head boy. Ooh, that's the signal."
A fountain of golden sparks shot up from behind the greenhouses, and Remus could hear Christopher's heart begin to beat faster with the excitement.
Let's do it then.
Remus elbowed him. They both turned to look at the owls, hundreds of them perched in rows lining the tower walls, all the way up into the rafters. Beside them was a pile of letters, all blank except for the address, and they all had the same address. Chris looked like he was ready to burst with the thrill of it all, and Remus stepped back, giving him the floor.
You know the spell, you do it.
"Really?"
Yeah,
Remus grinned.
plenty of mischief to go around after this.
Okay.
He rolled up his sleeves, licking his lips. He uttered the incantation and swept his wand broadly around the tower. A low hoot, a ruffling of feathers, and then utter chaos as all 500 owls suddenly leapt from their perches and swooped down towards the two boys, who both ducked for cover. Remus had never seen anything so magnificent. Every single owl in Hogwarts spread its wings and soared out of the window, each one snatching a blank addressed letter as it passed. It must have taken 2 full minutes for them all to manage it, and when it was over, Remus and Christopher jumped at the window to watch them disappear down towards the courtyard, through the arches, and onto their destination.
"Wow.
Chris kept saying, like a yappy little dog.
Wow, wow, wow."
Remus just grinned and thought about James and Sirius elsewhere in the castle, watching for that signal. And Mary, Marlene and Yaz, poised and ready for their own part, and everyone else in the castle waiting for the thing they had been planning since Christmas.
Let's go,
Remus said, grabbing Chris's arm.
We can watch them all running out.
If 500 owls suddenly flocking to the dungeons didn't get everyone out, then Remus was confident that James and Sirius's patented exploding toilet seats would do the job. They ran down the spiral staircase together, Remus taking the steps 2 at a time, still relishing his newfound mobility, and onto the main corridor where pandemonium reigned supreme. Every portrait was singing at the top of its lungs, from muggle pop songs to wizard nursery rhymes, whatever the third years had fancied when they cast the spell. Remus assumed the suits of armour had left their posts and taken to following students around. Remus hoped that wasn't too menacing. They weren't actually doing anything after all, just mimicking movements. It had been James's idea. King of locomotion spells.
I did it, Remus. I did it.
A 4th-year Ravenclaw came running out of the nearest bathroom, followed by a mass of pink bubbles.
Blew it right up.
Well done.
Remus clapped him on the back, congratulating him.
I can't wait for the big finish.
Better hurry.
Remus advised.
Won't be long.
The 4th year nodded and set off towards the grounds, pink foam flooding out into the hall.
"You've taught so many people things they never would have learnt."
Christopher marvelled as they walked. The big clock outside the great hall was whirling madly, hands spinning. So was every other clock, if the 6th year's spell had worked correctly.
Oh yeah,
Remus snorted.
blowing up toilets and levitating desks. Very useful.
"Don't forget all the defensive stuff."
Christopher frowned.
"I'd have been confounded again if not for you."
They followed the steady stream of students exiting the building. Remus just hoped they'd caused enough mayhem in enough areas of the castle to get everyone outside onto the lawn. It wouldn't be any fun if half the school missed the main event.
How is Lockhart?
He asked casually.
"Fine, I think. Leaving me alone, anyway."
Good. Suppose you can handle him if he doesn't.
"Yeah."
They'd reached the courtyard now and were within sight of the grounds. Christopher squinted in the bright summer sunshine and looked up at Remus, stopping a moment.
"I'll really miss you, though."
You're only here 1 more year.
Remus replied.
You'll be too busy with NEWTs to think about anything else. Trust me.
No, I'm still going to miss you,"
Chris said firmly.
"I'll keep the study group going, but it won't be the same. Everyone likes you so much, you're patient with them.
Remus didn't know how to respond to that, so he didn't. There was a funny lump in his throat, all the same.
Come on.
He pulled Christopher's arm, moving towards the grounds.
Don't want to miss it.
More than half the school had gathered on Hogwarts' expansive lawn, all chattering a mile a minute about the various interruptions and intrusions to their mornings.
Did you see all those owls?
The Great Hall is flooded? Flooded.
The Ravenclaw door knocker is speaking gobbledygook, apparently. Won't let anyone in.
The statue of the knight on the 5th floor threw water balloons at me.
Marauders, do you reckon?
Definitely.
No, I saw Emmeline Vance casting a spell on the portrait and a group of 6th years planting dung bombs. It can't be the Marauders.
Well, it can't be everyone.
The conjecture was interrupted as the last of the Slytherins, Regulus, Barty Crouch, Mulciber and Snape, much to Remus's satisfaction, emerged from the castle. They were all plastered in green slime. Lily's surprise bogey bombs had worked a treat. Remus made a mental note to congratulate her later. She'd be a marauder yet.
You...
Snape came charging over, globs of pea-green ooze dripping from his hair, from the tip of his nose. He pointed a long finger at Remus, face contorted with rage.
You did this, you and your filthy little friends.
Whatever's the matter, Snivelus?
Remus asked coolly, holding his ground.
You don't look any different to me.
You...
Snape spluttered, laughter erupting around him as younger students gathered to see.
Scourgify!
Regulus cast a cleaning charm on himself, restoring his clothes and hair to their usual impeccable neatness. He gave Snape a bored look.
Have some decorum, Severus. Don't rise to their pathetic bait.
Hey, Prongs, look, they got Snivellus.
Sirius appeared through the crowd, grinning, followed by James and Peter.
Excellent.
It's a good look, if you want my opinion.
James smirked, patting Remus on the shoulder by way of greeting. At the sight of Sirius, Regulus rolled his eyes and walked away, joining a group of Slytherins near the edge of the lake, huddled together, muttering between themselves like a murder of crows.
When Dumbledore finds out you're all behind this, he'll...
Snape raged.
What?
Sirius cocked an eyebrow, leaning on James's shoulder casually, as though they were just chatting.
Expel us. On the last day of school.
You'll pay.
Snape snarled. He turned and began to stalk back to the school, his robe still dripping.
Slow down, Snively.
Peter called out, hardly able to contain his excitement.
You don't want to miss the grand finale.
Wormtail!
Sirius hissed, kicking his shin.
Shh! Come on, it's nearly time.
Remus said, trying to draw them all away from Snape. He was obviously about to lose it, and Remus didn't trust the others not to push him over the edge. Worryingly, they ended up quite close to Regulus and his clique, by the lake. But it was getting crowded, and there weren't many places to stand. Remus had never been one for public displays of affection, but he really wished he could hold Sirius's hand right then, if only to stop him doing anything stupid. No such luck.
Reggie boy.
Sirius nodded at his brother pleasantly, eyes glittering with mischief.
Sirius!
Regulus replied, facing forward, head held high. He was like an alabaster statue, a cold marble version of his hot-blooded sibling.
I had hoped you'd learnt to put these childish games behind you.
Regulus drawled, sounding bored as ever.
Silly pranks and schemes won't be any use to you once the war is won. The Dark Lord demands order.
Sod your stupid old Dark Lord.
Sirius tutted, folding his arms. Remus realized the two brothers were mirroring each other's body language. All around the lake, students were gathering. They were seconds away. Remus took the opportunity to glance about at the most familiar faces. There was Christopher, talking animatedly to a few of his 6th-year friends, no double retelling what he had done in the owlery. Marlene, Mary and Yaz were giggling between themselves, and a bit further along was Emmeline Vance, still a perfect ice maiden, flirting with poor old Roman Rotherhide. A gaggle of younger students from the study group were practicing the incantation they were about to perform, and beside Remus, Lily and James were holding hands, wands at the ready. With a great clang, the Hogwarts clock tower struck midday, and James gave off a loud whistle, commanding everyone's attention. It was now. It seemed to Remus that they were all holding their breath for a few beats, and he gripped his own wand tighter, throwing a quick grin at Sirius, before turning his attention back to the lake and what lay beneath. Atolo Magna. All working as one, The members of the Marauders inter-house pranking collective raised their wands and gathered their strength, shouting the incantation. Remus's knees weakened. They'd tested this a few times, just the four of them in their bedroom, hence Sirius's vanishing bed, but never with so many others. Never so much magic at once. He felt as though he'd stuck his wand arm into a beehive. The magic began to thrum and vibrate through him, filling his mouth and nostrils like battery acid and pooling deep inside power. He was giddy with it, practically drunk. He shook his head doggishly, trying to maintain his focus and hold on. He had no idea what would happen if he let go. Meanwhile, something was happening on the lake. The surface began to ripple and shimmer. An odd, groaning, creaking sound came from a mile below, and then, pop. With almost comical immediacy, the spell had worked. Remus felt a great twist inside himself, which was not unpleasant, but not ignorable either, causing him to gasp. They'd done it. Students began to laugh and point. The Slytherins were crying out, one by one, stupid with shock. Even Regulus's mouth had dropped open. There, hovering just meters above the still waters, directly over the dungeons, hovered every bed and trunk from the Slytherin dormitories. It was beautiful, absolutely perfect, in every way. The layout of each dorm had been preserved. All they'd had to do was transport everything a mile or so upwards. The barrier charm, soft-hearted Lily's idea, was working well too, meaning that no one's possessions were really in any danger of getting wet. They'd just have to work out the counterspell and everything would return to normal, provided all of the Slytherins worked together, of course. That had been a Hufflepuff idea. Remus's muscles were still twitching from channeling all that magic. He was a live wire, static buzzed at his fingertips. Luckily, very few people noticed. They were too busy cheering or screaming with dismay at the sight before them. Fireworks were flying over the tops of the beds now, spelling out, "Have a great summer, Slytherin, from Gryffindor, Ravenclaw, and Hufflepuff."
Are you okay, Moony?
Sirius looked at him, reaching an arm out.
"Don't touch me."
Remus snapped, stepping back and shrugging Sirius off hurriedly. He didn't know what would happen, but he didn't feel at all safe to be around. Sirius rubbed his own arm, looking hurt.
"Sorry."
Remus breathed, shaking his head again.
"Just give me a minute."
You...
Oh no, Severus had reappeared and was charging towards the Marauders, wand raised, red-faced. It looked like he'd got off most of the slime.
Thieves.
He hissed, glaring at James and Sirius.
Give me my things back. Get them down at once.
Sirius and James were beside themselves with laughter, which didn't help matters. But Snape really had brought this on himself. No one else was ranting and raving like a lunatic. Lily tried to intervene, breaking away from James.
Severus, it's not what you think. It's easy enough to...
But it was too late. Snape had already turned to the lake and aimed his wand at whichever bed was his. He was trying a basic levitation spell, but it wasn't going to work. The Marauders had designed the spell specifically to ward against that kind of measure.
No, don't!
Lily yelled, covering her eyes. But of course Snape never listened. Not when he felt he'd been wronged. It seemed to work for a moment. One of the beds jerked a bit and wobbled, but only for a microsecond. The next thing anyone knew, it had come loose, plummeting into the sparkling waters below with a loud splash. Severus stared, his mean mouth a hard straight line, dark, greasy hair falling into his eyes. He turned, wand raised, and Remus caught a scent he had only recognized twice before, like charred flesh, dark magic, a curse. Another twist in his gut, this time far less pleasant, and Remus felt a change inside him.
Sectum sempra.
Snape cried. Remus didn't even need his wand. He had more than enough power, and without thinking, stepped in front of James, raising his hand as Severus flung the curse. The world seemed to take on a strange red hue, and wind roared in Remus's ears so that he only very faintly heard Lily's scream and James and Sirius shout,
Moony! Moony!
The curse hit Remus, but he felt nothing. It seemed to simply dissipate as soon as it touched his skin, leaving him with nothing worse than a feeling of mild sunburn. Still, he was weaker now than he had been 2 minutes ago, as if the force of the barrier he'd created had sapped him of all of his other magic. He blinked, and everything came back to normal. Snape was still standing in front of him, looking terrified and furious in equal measure. Sirius's hand was on Remus's arm, and James was now charging towards Snape. Remus sank slowly to the grass below, exhausted. He sat cross-legged on the ground, dazed. Sirius crouched beside him.
Moony?
I'm okay.
What the fuck was that?
Sirius whispered, urgently. He sounded scared.
I don't know.
Remus whispered back, bowing his head.
It was just a counter-jinx.
Lily suddenly shouted, and Remus realised she was addressing the students that had gathered around, curious. Always quick on her feet, that girl.
Snape tried to curse Potter. You all saw it. Lupin just caught it in time.
Can you get up?
Sirius was asking, tugging at his elbow.
We'll go to Madame Pomfrey.
No.
Remus shook his head fiercely, getting up.
I'm okay. Honestly. Just surprised myself. Wordless magic or something. I haven't got the hang of it yet.
Okay.
Sirius was looking at him warily. Lily was on crowd control, and James seemed to have chased Snape away, or else he'd gone to Slughorn to formally complain about the prank. Equilibrium restored itself. Remus gave Sirius his best smile and gave his arm a gentle squeeze to show that it was all okay now. Sirius relaxed a bit, nodding. The older Slytherins, a bit further along the lake edge, were now conferring amongst themselves. It seemed that Snape's misfortune had benefited his housemates. At least now they knew what wouldn't work.
Sort of nice, isn't it?
Mary sauntered over, smiling broadly and completely oblivious to what had just happened.
See them all employing a bit of teamwork. We might have house unity yet.
Don't count on it.
Marlene smirked just behind her. The Slytherins had begun to argue loudly. They all stayed to watch the drama unfold a while longer. One particularly hilarious attempt to restore order resulted in every second bed lifting a few feet higher. Another spell caused them all to face west for no discernible reason. After an hour had passed, a group of Ravenclaws took an interest and began workshopping more ideas with the desperate Slytherins. At that point, Remus was feeling normal again, which meant only one thing.
I'm hungry,
he announced.
Feast'll be in half an hour,
Lily said, distracted by the squid, who was playing with one of the Slytherins' bedside tables, trying to bat it with its longest tentacle.
I might go up and get changed then,
Mary said. Everyone agreed. Leave the Slytherins to it. As they walked back up to the castle, grinning and laughing together, Remus was aware of Sirius's eyes still on him, but still couldn't offer any explanation. Whatever had happened had only ever occurred once before, that afternoon in the forest with Castor and Livia, and that was hardly a pleasant memory for either him or Sirius.
Oi, Black!
Marlene said, appearing beside them.
Ever get your bed back?
Sirius frowned.
Oh no, I never did. Long gone now, I suppose, seeking its fortune on the open road. Godspeed, old bed.
He sighed wistfully. Remus sniggered.
Aren't you worried the school will charge you for it?
Marlene said. He shrugged. Marlene tutted.
Spoilt brat.
Did you even try to get it back?
Lily asked.
Well, we don't know where it went,
James replied, chuckling at the memory.
Not even a basic summoning charm.
No, we never...
Accio bed!
Sirius yelled at the top of his lungs, waving his wand, a faint and distant rumble.
Oh shit,
Sirius murmured. The lake behind them began to bubble, and they all turned in time to see Sirius's four-poster bed rising from the water like a great mahogany submarine. Draped in seaweed and heavy waterlogged velvet hangings, it rose into the air and flew towards them so that they had to scatter and dive to the ground, covering the heads. It crashed on the spot Sirius had summoned it to with a heavy, squelchy thud and promptly splintered into several pieces. Silence for a few seconds as Lily, Marlene, Mary, Yaz, James, Peter, Remus and Sirius raised their heads once more, climbing to their feet in amazement. Then laughter from every quarter, especially the Slytherins still gathered by the lake's edge. Sirius just stood there, scratching his head. He said.
Bottom of the lake all along, eh?
It was still dripping. The sheets were green with algae and sand and grit piled up on the mattress.
Oi, you wanker,
James said, approaching the rescued bed and snatching up a rectangular pile of greyish mulch.
Is this my Quidditch magazine?
Maybe.
Sirius grinned, then, catching the murderous glint in James's eye, began to run at full pelt back to the castle, James chasing after him.
I suppose now's as good a time as any.
Peter whispered to Remus.
But, Filch caught me with the map earlier. He confiscated it.
What?
Remus rounded on him, angry. That map was his idea, his magic.
Don't be angry with me, Moony.
Peter cringed.
It was locked and everything, I promise. No one can get into it unless they're up to no good, and they'd have to break into Filch's office.
Remus stopped at these words. He was right about that. After all, anyone who could achieve both those feats would certainly be worthy of the map, and he had wanted to leave something behind, a true legacy. This way, perhaps Messrs. Mooney, Wormtail, Padfoot and Prongs might be remembered one day. He squinted ahead at the two dark-haired boys chasing each other and whooping with laughter. He looked at the four girls, who'd all linked arms and were walking cheerfully back to the castle, voices light and carefree. What did Remus Lupin have to be angry about? What had he to worry about? His heart swelled, and he was reminded of something Sirius had told him a few months ago. Love was something you did, not something you said, and every one of these people had proved that to him.
All right, Wormy.
Remus flung his arm around Peter's shoulders, grinning.
You're forgiven. Come on, let's catch up.